Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dow Jock. I am the other enrichment coach. Just came back. I was deployed to the Middle East for last year, so I just rejoined the team within the last 30 days.
And then
Hi.
Crystal and Brittany.
Hi, everybody. I'm Crystal Hall. I'm with the Iowa After School Alliance, and we support the coaches in their efforts. So thanks for joining us today.
And hi, everyone. This is Brittany Samuelson. I also am with the Iowa After School Alliance and support this initiative. Thanks for being here.
All right. So if you're just joining us, we had a few people just hop on. Go ahead in the chat box, drop your name, what organization you're with, and something that you're looking forward to. Just a touch of housekeeping for the day. So we have a smaller number than we have in the past, so we would love to see all of your faces, makeup, messy hair, random things behind you. We want to see it all. So we would love to encourage engagement however you feel comfortable, whether that's a camera now or just in the breakout rooms. Take advantage of that chat box. We might have some polls or annotations later, and then we have some moments of discussion where we will be calling on some people or inviting some people, I guess I should say, to turn their mic on and give us some of their thoughts. If you can help us, this is also for attendance purposes, go ahead and rename yourself if you haven't already. So if you hover over your little video or your picture, there should be 3 dots. If you click on that, it should have an option to rename, and go ahead and rename yourself with the first and last name that would be found in the DHS registry. If you're not in the DHS registry, your first and last name would be great, so we can easily call on you and engage a little bit more. We know that sometimes things happen. If you have to step away from a moment, totally fine. Go ahead and take advantage of turning off that video and turning off the microphone if it's on. We don't want any accidental toilet flushes. So just, we understand, and then come back when you can. And then also, we want to make sure that you can utilize the chat box whenever. So if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have, whether it's content related, Zoom related, whatever it might be, go ahead, feel free to use that chat box. We do have the private feature turned on, so if you want to message one of the hosts directly, if you have a technical question, go ahead and do that. We will have someone monitoring the chat box throughout this time, so that if you have any questions, we'll pull some of them out when the time comes for those. As a reminder, at the end, we'll drop the link to the survey, and we will have you complete that. If you need DHS credit, there will be a place in there for you to mark yes, and there'll be a place in there if you need a certificate and what email address to be sent to. We'll share that at the end of today, and then we'll also share that with the follow-up email tomorrow as well. Next slide. Perfect. So just in case you need to brush up or dust off some of your Zoom skills, just like I know I did, here's a quick little thing of it. So the double red arrow on the left side shows where you can do your video and microphone. If it has a red slash through it, that means it's turned off. If it doesn't, that means it's turned on. Moving to the right, the green arrow is pointing at the chat box. We will utilize that a bit today. As I said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, whatever it might be, feel free to chat those in there. The blue arrow, if we're moving over again into that actual chat box feature, you can toggle between who you want to send the message to. So if you have any more Zoom questions or anything, feel free to send something in the chat box and someone can help you with those. All right, and so so our objectives of today, we are prompting all of you, the leaders, to reflect and think through the effects of COVID and cultivating your adult SEL. And then we are going to share experiences and strategies for managing change through the application of SEL and the core competencies. And then we'll save some time at the end for our resource spotlight. So if you have anything to share, a tip, trick, a resource, a website, a video, whatever it might be, we have some time at the end where you can share them out loud. You can drop them in the chat box and we'll compile them and send them out to the network tomorrow. So with that, now I'm actually going to turn it over to Teresa.
Well, hello, everyone. We're going to go through these next sessions, just kind of defining SEL. We're going to talk about like the how piece and how we're going to cultivate it, and then get into our first breakout session. So you'll see in front of you that there's two sets of definitions for SEL. The first definition is just a general definition in the perspective of the children and adults. And it's the social and emotional learning processes where children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. This was a definition that was set by CIOST. If you also see that in the bold, that also mirrors the five core competencies that you would see for SEL. The second definition is actually the adult definition that was set by Wolf. And this definition is, it's the process of helping educators, and OST programs fall underneath educators, build their expertise and skills to lead social and emotional learning initiatives. It also cultivating adults' own social and emotional competencies. So today, our focus is going to be on the cultivating piece of adults, of the adult social and emotional competency. So which goes into our how. And from here on, our breakout sessions are going to model the how piece of how you can incorporate SEL into your programming. So if you'll see that there's three pieces to this. There's the learn part, and that's just basically taking time and for adults to reflect on their own self-care practices, making sure that you're incorporating that, whether it's in team meetings that you have or you actually have professional development set aside for that, which also provides opportunities for growth in those areas. Then you have the collaboration piece, and the collaboration can either be internal and or external. And that's those environmental supports. So if it's external, you're bringing in community support. If it's internal, you're creating that environment. You're building an environment. The next one is leadership investment. And of course, we all know that is like the top, kind of like the top down, where it's your directors, your board of trustees, or whoever you have, and they're invested in SEL for adults. And then ongoing reflection. The ongoing reflection piece is, this is not a one and done. This is making sure that this is continuous throughout your, whether you have it for the school year, whether you have it over the summer, but it's a continuous reflection piece. And then the last part is the model. And with the model, it's just basically modeling the actual adult competencies. And we'll see that there's actually 6 competencies there. Moving on to the next slide. And here are those 6 competencies. I'm not going to read through the actual definitions. We have a worksheet that you're going to work from, and on that worksheet, we have actually included this piece for future references. So you have self-management, self-awareness, growth mindset, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And as you're looking through this list, you'll notice that there's actually 6 core competencies at the adult level. The 6th one that they added was the growth mindset piece. Okay. So moving along, this actually is going to take us into our first breakout session. Hopefully you were able to access the worksheet that was sent out in the email, or access the worksheet that's being dropped in the chat box. If not, please send a message through chat so that you can get that. I'll just kind of wait a couple of seconds so people can access that. So as the first breakout session says, it's individual reflections. And this is how we would like for you to process this information. So you're going to be put into a breakout room, and we would like for you to individually go through each one, starting with the first one, and you're going to process that on an individual level, and then you're going to process it with your group. So like the first one says, what have you found most challenging as an individual while navigating COVID-19? So you're going to process that, think about that on an individual level, and then share out with your group. And you're just going to work your way down from 1 all the way down to number 4. We're going to give you plenty of time to do this. We're going to give you 15 minutes of time, and then we will send a 3-minute time that says, hey, you got 3 minutes to wrap up your conversations and come back to the big group. If there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. And Mallory, before you go into the breakout session, let's kind of wait a little bit to see if anybody has any questions on what's being asked. Or you can just say out because it's a smaller group too as well. Don't necessarily have to put it in the chat box. Any questions on what we're asking you to do for this first breakout session?
So I'm putting people in breakout rooms right now. So everyone right now is assigned to a room that has one of the coaches or one of the OST or IAA members. So just give me 1 second. There's some people still moving around here. All right. So we've dropped the worksheet in the chat box for you if you need to download that. And I have it set so you will be going there and you should be getting your invitation in just a minute.
Thank you. Stop.
Julie, are you there? Hi, Sylvia, are you there?
Yes, my internet went out. Sorry. I'm back.
Oh, you're fine. Do you remember what room you were in?
I think it was before the breakout session started.
Okay. I'm going to pop you into breakout room 2. You should be getting an invitation for it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to see you back. I'm testing to see if this timer actually closes all the rooms on its own. Oh, cool, it does. Cool. So everyone should be back in about a minute. We're still waiting on one breakout room. All right, it looks like everyone is back in.
Yep.
All right.
Go ahead, Teresa.
No, I was just going to say, I am going to actually turn this part over to Dow, and he's going to work us through another set of questions as well. Go ahead, Dow.
Yeah, before we go to the next one, can somebody share with us anything that stood out, just quickly, one or two? What is something that you discussed as a group that kind of stood out for you?
This is Mr. John from the Wilkie House. One of the first things another participant of ours, Mr. Jeremy, had mentioned was the big change in trying to better understand how to engage our youth who are not able to be here right now. So within that virtual learning, I think we got, all of us just get so focused on the kids that we have while trying to make sure we're able to engage those who are not here. I feel like that was a really important statement and a challenge that I see a lot of people going through.
Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
One more person, anyone else, another group?
One of the things that we discussed is just stress management and the importance of it, making sure that I think Dow said we got to be 100% so we can make sure to give the kids the best that we can give, and that just makes sense. So stress management is very important during all this.
Yeah. So thank you for the sharing in the group. So the biggest thing we try to do is to get you in the first part to think about individually some of these things that are going on. The next piece is we're asking you, next slide, we're asking you to think from the program or organization's perspective, right? And would challenge you to think about these questions, and we're actually going to do it as a big group. And I'll call on a few of you to share some of your thoughts. So, like the first one, in your organization right now, what SEL skills are needed for success? Okay, I would like to give you a little bit of time here to reflect. And if there's any volunteers, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll call on one or two people and move on to the next question. As you reflect on your program or organization, what SEL skills are needed for success?
Taking care of yourself.
Can you elaborate on that, Mindy?
Just making sure that the person that's taking care of the kids is healthy and their emotions are in check, or they can have somebody to talk to.
Yep.
In order to take care of the kids' needs.
So from an organizational perspective, taking care of staff, making sure the staff are taken care of in order to be able to provide for the kids.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And that could be from the organization's perspective, many things, but most of which is self-management, helping staff be able to manage themselves better. Can I get it from a different perspective, maybe a director or a program lead that has managed staff? From your perspective, what skills are needed for your program organization to succeed? Dr. Douglas, if you don't mind, I'll call on you.
Oh, well, thank you. I would say the major SEL skills is us understanding each other's strengths. I think is the biggest part, and then understanding where, because I mean, I have some staff that when they have an academic activity, I know I have nothing to worry about. They're going to be able to rock it and focus through, while others, if it's physical activity, I know that bringing in another staff member to assist and move through is really useful, as well as a really big piece is figuring out where the interns go. So, I mean, you don't get a long time to really get to know them. So understanding what their skills and strengths are can be interesting and trying to do in a very short time period.
Yeah. So talent management sounds like busy.
There
Yeah, absolutely. The next question is, what are some things your program or organization has done well in response to COVID-19? And what role have you played? And as you think about that, also think about the third question: how will you model vulnerability to foster safety, empathy, inclusion in your program, especially during adversity, right? So, because those two things, they may not seem like they're similar, but they're interconnected, right? But think about those two questions at the same time is the challenge for you. But right off the rip, what are some things your program has done in response to COVID?
With our program, we worked with trying to separate but include all our kids in activities, because with COVID, you know, you have to keep the social distancing and numbers low just to keep everybody safe. And so we've done well with making our program be able to fit our kids where they can still have interactions with others while also keeping a safe distance and keeping everybody safe with that.
And would you say you have succeeded in doing that?
Yes, I do believe we have.
Okay.
So with going to different places and things like that, taking field trips, we go one group at a time instead of all of us going. And then we do well with inside the building, making sure that we're not all in the same place at the same time, transitioning well, letting other people go first, and then allowing ourselves to be with the kids in every room.
Do the kids wear masks?
No, ma'am, we don't require it. Some of our kids like to wear masks, and so we can encourage that. And then we also have offered and provided masks for our kids as well.
Do the teachers wear masks?
No, ma'am, we have on occasions. And then depending on where we're going, if the kids decide to wear a mask or we do, we recommend that they wear them.
Okay. So while some people are speaking, please feel free to chat, answer the questions in the chat box for everyone, because since we won't have time for everyone to share out to the group, so feel free to answer in the chat box. The next one, I'm going to call on a few people to comment on this one, because I think that this third question is very, very integral to what we do in our profession. So again, how will you model vulnerability to foster? I would reword that and say, how have you and how will you model vulnerability to foster safety, empathy, and inclusion in your program? And so I'll give you a couple moments. Again, feel free to answer in the chat box, but I'll call on a few people to share out to the group, if that's okay. So Amy, any thoughts for the group?
I would say being yourself and being transparent and giving as much information as you can to help people feel safe and that you're not trying to keep things from them. I think I'm part of a school district, and I think that's one of the big things that school districts are facing is trying to keep the information out there as much as possible. And we're never, ever going to meet everybody's needs and satisfaction, because everyone has such a different opinion on all of this.
Yeah.
So just trying to be as true to yourself, but letting people understand why you're making the decision you are.
Yeah. Communicating why, very important. One more person. Sierra, or
Oh yeah, sure. So honestly, I just think remembering that you're human, and even though you are supposed to be a leader to the kids, remember that I've seen a lot of kids get really frustrated and in their head, and just kind of showing them that they can be vulnerable by yourself being vulnerable kind of like gets them out of their head, gets them thinking and talking, and then you can go from there.
yeah, I want to call on somebody else that has worked with kids extensively, because that last point you made, Sierra, is so crucial. The being vulnerable with kids to model it, right? It's so critical. Kristen, may I have you comment on this answer, please? I mean, question. You there, Kristen? Okay. She's
Yeah,
not.
I
Go ahead.
everybody's starting to wake up here. I might have to just shut down, get out of this.
Okay.
How will you model foster? If I'm reading this right, or heard you read it right, it's just, you got to keep in contact with the parents. I think I heard someone say don't hide anything. But yeah, you just gotta, if you tell one parent one thing, you have to tell the other. If I have a child that comes in, and this isn't with the COVID, but if I have a child that comes in and they get sick while they're here, I let all the parents know. And my parents know that I will let the other parents know. And because actually, out of the 8 families I have, they're all just kind of like a family. They are. I mean, they all know each other. I live in a very small community. They all know each other, and if I don't say something, they're going to hear it from my neighbor 2 doors down, probably. So, because I mean, and how my neighbor would have found out someone had the flu here, I have no idea. But you just got to keep in contact with the parents. If you tell one parent one thing because so and so got sick, you got to let everybody know. So I don't know if that really answered the question here, but
Yep.
So, but yeah, so
transparency. Yep. Transparency.
Yep. Yeah.
So. Thank you all for sharing. Next slide. The next thing we like, the next ask of you is go back into small groups and think about these 3 particular questions. This is, again, thinking about the future. What are you doing to prepare, both as an individual and as part of an organization, to resume or continue your programs? And then the second part is, what can we do as an initiative to better support you and the organization, especially in the context of emotional intelligence, SEL, conversations with youth, or dealing with change? What can we do as coaches or initiative in general? And then, ask you to reflect on our discussion today, right? What are 3 ways you will continue or you're going to incorporate SEL into your programs? So again, we're going to go back into small groups. I think Mallory just shared again the worksheet, but please, as you reflect on these things, also think about the so what. What is the so what, right? So it could be things that you're doing already. Please share, because again, the best knowledge is the knowledge that exists amongst us as a group, right? There's a wealth of knowledge here. And so let's share with each other. So we're going to go back into the small groups. Believe, Mallory, you got that, right? Control?
I do. So I'm going to set it for 10 minutes, just so that we can come back together and wrap up really quickly. I did move groups around again so that you'll have a chance to talk with other people that you might not have before. If I have somehow left you out of a breakout room, I will know and I will put you in one as soon as I can. Everyone should be getting those sent out now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So team, welcome back. So thank you again for the group discussions. I would like to take a moment because of time, feel free again for these last as we close out to share anything in the inbox. If you want to connect with somebody else that you had a discussion with in a small group breakout, please reach out to them. We welcome that. If you have any questions, just inbox us. I would like to take this moment to talk about two things as a result of how we kind of broke it out. Number one, there's a leadership deficit, and COVID-19 has exposed some of that, okay, on many levels. And hopefully, you ask yourself the question, what am I doing to change or improve the way I speak, the way I think, and the way I understand, okay? Because again, if you look at these three things, the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you understand, you'll find that a lot of the miscommunication, a lot of the shortcomings of communication derive from that, or conflict sometimes derives from that. So challenge yourself. Can you fill that leadership gap? Individually, what are you doing to improve your capacity to be able to speak differently, to think differently, and also to understand, okay? The second piece is, I would ask yourself, how are you improving your value, okay? Everyone is going through the same challenges or similar challenges, but what are you doing to improve your value to the organization or in what you do, right? How are you doing that? So with kids, how are you improving your leverage with your influence with the kids? What are you doing to improve that? In some of the groups, we talk about patience. We talked about self-awareness, right? So I think as you think about all these challenges, COVID has brought stress or other opportunities. Look at them as opportunities to improve, opportunities to add your value, okay? And as you go through, I said it in a small group, we with OST team, from Crystal to the coaches to Brittany, we thank you for what you do because you're at the forefront and you take risks. You put yourself, second because you put the kids first. But hopefully you also take time for yourself. Hopefully you take time to take care of yourself, right? Because again, self-management, that's on you. Self-awareness, that's on you. Growth mindset, that's on you. Responsible decision-making, that's on you. Relationship skills, that's on you, right? So all these competencies start with you. What are you doing to improve those, right? Because as you go, the program will go. So as we leave, nothing else, please take care of yourself and find time to take care of yourself. So I'll turn it over to Mallory.
Hi, Crystal, I think you have one thing you were going to say, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So thank you again. I want to particularly call out the group that I was associated with today, Group 4. You had great discussion, and I really appreciate that. One thing that came up in this last little bit of discussion was that the appreciation for the CIOST Reimagined events was there, but they were hoping that they could share them with staff that didn't have an opportunity to participate in real time. So in the chat box, I did drop the link. We have recorded all of our sessions, included the slide decks, any handouts, things like that, and you can find them on our CIOSTinitiative.org/resources website. So if that's interesting to you, please go there and take a look at some of the past training sessions and webinars that we've done. There's lots of really good information there. And then I will also drop the link to our SurveyMonkey in the chat box, and I'll let Mallory kind of walk through the closing little bits here. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so we're running short on time. So if you have any resources or anything to share, feel free to drop it in the chat box now, and we will compile them and send them out. Otherwise, be on the lookout for our follow-up email tomorrow. It will have any of the resources that we have compiled. It'll have the link to the post-session survey, which has all of the information you need if you need to get DHS credit. Make sure you fill that out. And then if we can go to the next slide so you have our contact information. So here's our contact information. So if you need to follow up or if you didn't have a chance to drop any questions, comments, resources in the chat box, here are the emails that you can send them to. If you have a question about DHS, Brittany's your girl, CIOST logistics, forward those on to Crystal, or any of the content, you can send them to any of the 3 coaches. We will have another CIOST Reimagined training next month. Tentatively, it is scheduled for August 20th, and it will be focusing on mental health. Once we get more details around that, we'll be sending all of those out to the network. So be on the lookout for future updates from Crystal about future CIOST and any other things that come up until then. It's been great. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, we'll stick around for just a couple minutes. Otherwise, feel free to shoot an email to any of us, and we'll do our best to get everything answered. All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mallory.
Yep.
Crystal.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Teresa.